the Hota or Hammer of the Ancients Barbarian is destroying the game, at least in PvP, and a bunch of other stuff happened over the weekend. We actually know now that Blizzard loves hardcore players and they will put them on the statue. A couple of fixes that we're gonna have on the release of the pre-patch on the 18th, and some more stuff that's very reassuring when it comes to Diablo games. So we're gonna check them out real quick. Stay tuned. Let's get into it really quick. So earlier today, we've had a tweet from Grissaurus, essentially saying that any plan on fixing the HotA BUG abuse, it's ruining PvP at the moment. 70% of the players we face are HotA abusers or making people ults for it. Obviously, exploits kind of really feel a lot worse when it comes to PvP because it's a more competitive area. In PvE, you just farm dungeons a little bit quicker, maybe kill bosses a little bit quicker, and so on and so forth. But the PvP session in Diablo 4 has been arguably an improvement over past PvP versions so far. It's a fun new take on the PvP, and having barbarians or a specific build being exploited, which, I mean, let's be honest here, everybody's gonna exploit the game. If you're gonna have an edge, you're gonna do an edge. I don't necessarily blame people for exploiting it, but the fact that it exists in the game is a little bit a shame. But Adam Fletcher did actually reply that it's definitely looking into the bug. Of course, that is. Now, we don't know if this is going to come into a hot fix, a live fix that, doesn't really have a patch, or if it's going to be in a weekly patch or weekly fix or something like that. We're probably going to have some confirmation of when this is going to be addressed, likely, and hopefully by then PvP can be a little bit more enjoyable without actually having, Hammer of the Ancients appears just destroying everything, because that's not fun for everybody, man. Let's be honest here. And also, let's talk about other issues that can come into the game. We know, if you play Diablo 4, if you've streamed Diablo 4, and even if you just want to enjoy the game, there are big issues with the memory leak, which is definitely a problem. This has been a tweet that was posted on the 18th, especially from Angry Beard, saying that if there are any plans to fix your memory leak. We know the memory leak as well. Diablo 4 is not the best optimized game for PC. It seems to be running better on consoles, weirdly enough, but hey, this is definitely a problem, especially for people who have high-end PCs, which shouldn't have this issue. Essentially, Angry Beard is saying that the game shouldn't be using 9Gs. It's not a NASA science project. That felt home very much, since I also have a pretty beef PC, and I did not expect having these issues and optimize the game and to even actually streaming it, because we do stream it. But Adam Fletcher did actually answer it, and it's been a tough to track issue, but I think we may have a potential fix on the 18th of July. So essentially, the 18th of July patch, which we know already, that's going to be the pre-patch, bringing everything into the game with the new season and all of the stuff up. This is gonna bring some hot fixes. We've known since every patch that we've seen so far, even the 104 patch, which this tweet has been in reply of, there's been like 95% hot fixes and fixes left and right. I haven't personally seen any game, definitely not from Blizzard, that's been addressed this much with these many fixes. Obviously, it kind of sucks to realize that Diablo has these many bugs and issues, but hey, they're being addressed en masse. So I don't know what the devs are doing. I don't know if they have time to eat or anything over there in the Blizzard HQ, but they are addressing the hotfixes. It's kind of a shame to know that the memory leak is going to take a while until it's coming out, but I mean, come on, it's only gonna be like a little bit of a week, which is not that big of a deal. Obviously, they most likely knew about this issue ever since the game has been released. I don't know, I don't remember in the beta ever having these kinds of issues. Personally, it seemed like it was more of an issue once the game launched and was live, but it's reassuring to know, and we're probably going to see more fixes and more big issues being addressed on the 18th, since the season is supposed to be the content that's going to be pulling a lot of people into the game, getting them hot and heavy for all the new stuff that we're gonna do. So yeah, this is very reassuring. That's definitely going to be looked into and also actually addressed, which is very good. Also, in relation to the season, although I don't know if we're gonna be having this thing for season 1, probably not for season 1, but essentially this Torah on Twitter said, I doubt we'll see this, but wanted to ask anyways. There you go. Will season 1 have the rebirth feature that Diablo 3 had? Also, why is there no way to tell a character / played, or just general how much time you've played? Looking forward to season 1. That is actually interesting, because I think a / played would be really cool to figure out, considering that you're going to be swapping a lot of characters. You're probably going to create multiple characters, and this is kind of cool. It's like, man, I played this. Bone Spear Necromancer build, and I've sunk 100 and so hours into it, but I sunk 50 hours in the Blood Necro, and I got to the end game a little bit quicker. That could be a cool thing. But going into the Rebirth, if you don't know, Rebirth is essentially a feature added into Diablo 3 some time ago, which is, and to quote, if you wish to play in a season but don't want to create a new character, the Rebirth option allows you to transfer an existing character to the current season. After selecting one of your heroes in the character selection screen, you'll be able to use the Rebirth button, which will convert him or her into a seasonal hero, reverting it to level 1 and mailing all of the items to the stash contents to your non-seasonal mailbox, which is probably going to be the temporary stash that we already know we're going to have eventually once the season ends. We have this in D2, we have this in D3. So essentially you can take your live character and rebirth that character into the season. That can be really cool for people who are attached to their character. I know I'm attached to my first druid, and I probably won't play Eternal Realm that much, so, you know, this can also save a bunch of slots for the character slot screen, because we can only have 10, and until they fix the stash issues, a bunch of them will probably be mules. I have one mule for each one of my characters to hold all of the aspects and legendaries, so having to recreate multiple or just manually delete them, it just feels like a shame. So having the rebirth option feels like it's really cool. I hope they add this in for Season 1. Essentially, Adam Fletcher said that rebirth isn't a feature in D4 yet, but we've heard this a bunch, so the team is aware. Obviously, this is no confirmation yet, but as we've seen so far, every new issue that's been addressed and that they are aware of, they eventually try to get it into the game one way or another. So I think it's pretty much confirmed that we're going to have it. I don't see a reason why not to. I mean, obviously, I don't know exactly if this is a difficult thing to implement from a developer standpoint, if this is going to affect the system in a weird way. I mean, I hope not, but at least until we get a much extended character slot screen, because we only have 10 right now, until we can get more of those, I would imagine that this would be the first thing that can make it a little bit easier to kind of recycle, let's say, although it sounds a little bit emotionally cold. It's probably one way to address the limited character screen, because if we have 5 classes and probably 5 mules for each one, that's essentially all of your characters. If you're gonna, you know, play all of the classes, that's already 10 slots right there. So recycling, let's say, eternal characters that you're probably not gonna be playing is probably one way of doing it, and I really hope to see this in game. Last but not least, for anybody that's actually really interested in pursuing a career at Diablo, we know officially that there are positions open. Rod Ferguson tweeted on July the 8th that there are lots of great stuff going on with Diablo 4. Why don't you join us? Here's some open roles. Which is always cool, because Diablo is such a cool game, and getting people into it, getting passionate people working on the game usually makes the game better. I mean, usually, you know, most of the time. Which is obviously really good for anybody who's interested. Rarely do they do this very publicly, but I think we can probably get accustomed to how the Diablo 4 community works, especially in the side of Blizzard, where they constantly talk with people all over the place, and, you know, they're very, very transparent, and this transparency is amazing, of course. And we also have D3 Pawn essentially saying, do you folks hire remotely, or is all USA based things? Obviously, D3 is not from the US, clearly, because it's a very US specific. And Rod Ferguson did reply saying that we hire remotely as well, essentially confirming that they do hire outside of the US. Since, you know, we here in the EU love Diablo as well, and we might as well love to work on the actual game that we are so passionate about. It's good to hear that the mentality of working from home and working remotely can still be propagated throughout Blizzard games, because there's a lot of passionate talent all over the world that would love to work on this. Now, I don't know exactly the logistics of this. Obviously, they're probably not going to post that on Twitter, but it's nice to know that they're looking outside of the US as well for all passionate talent all over the world, including as many people into the game. We're definitely going to get more amazing talent in the game to make the game better, because Jesus, man, this game is selling like hotcakes, and it is so fun to play. Last but not least, haha, we all know the controversy rather, I will be able to speak English eventually properly, the hardcore conundrum where, you know, they essentially claim that the first 1,000 people that do get to level 100 on hardcore will be engraved into history, into the Lilith statue, and obviously there were a lot of people that were missed. I'm pretty sure with all of the drama that we want to put on Blizzard's hand that this was definitely a mistake. Obviously was not intended, but they did of course confirm, as they should have, that that will be rectified. From the official Diablo Twitter, we have: the Blessed Mother loves her hardcore children. I'm sure she does. Hell's forces are reviewing some of the forgotten souls whose achievements slipped through the cracks due to entry error, but still deserve celebrating. We will share an amended list with these additional heroes in the near future. It's great because this was actually a really cool thing to do to get player invested into the game, especially with Harcore, which is a totally separate scene from the normal Diablo game. And it sucked, man. It sucked to not to be in one of those 1,000 people and not actually make it on the statue, especially when it was a race. So it's good that they're essentially addressing this, and it will be fixed for anybody who unfortunately was missed in these 1,000 people that got to Hardcore 100. You guys will hopefully rest assured no more issues will come up, and you'll be making it into the carved history of the Diablo 4, I guess, first season. I don't know if they're gonna do this again in the future. It's definitely really cool. I think this definitely attracted a lot of attention, and I hope they did do this again in the future. So hopefully none of these things can be mistaken again. But this is everything that happened over the weekend, of course, with all the season release that if you've missed, we already have a video on it covering all of the things that you need to know about the season 1 that we know so far, unless more information is going to be revealed later into the week or later into the month prior to the season being released. We're also going to cover that, so don't worry. Well, thank you for watching the video. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.